Chair McDonald is not here today, and Commissioner Smith has let me know that he is running late, so I have asked if it's okay with you all, since we do have a quorum, if Mayor Susan Gibbs Thomas can open the meeting, and then when Commissioner Smith gets here, then he can take over chairing the meeting, if that's okay? Okay.
Away we go. Okay. Good morning. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to this meeting of the Martin County Metropolitan Planning Organization. If we could, do we have Pastor Jim Harp this morning? If we all could stand for the prayer and stay standing for the Pledge of Allegiance.
Our Father, we thank you for this day, this beautiful day that you've given us, and thank you for the beginning of a new week, beginning of a new opportunity to look to you and seek you. And Lord, I thank you for this privilege of coming here this morning to pray. Your word tells us in the book of Philippians to in everything, with prayer and thanksgiving, by prayer and supplication with thanksgiving, let our requests be made known to you. So, Lord, I usually always begin with thanksgiving, opening with a thankful heart. And I thank you for each of these, Father, that you have placed in positions of authority, and those that work for this county, whose livelihood is made by representing your people here in this community, Lord. And I ask this morning especially for your blessing upon them. I ask for your blessing upon this meeting today to give direction and guidance, Lord, in the decisions that will be made, the topics under consideration today, Lord, that affect all of us. And so, Lord, I just ask you to bring peace. I ask you to guide and direct the hearts of each one, Lord, as you've told us that you would. And you've told us in your word to pray for those in authority over us. And so whether we agree with them or not, it doesn't matter. We are still supposed to pray and lift them before you. So I do that today, Father, and I thank you for answering prayer. I thank you for being with us, Lord, and I thank you so much for this opportunity to recognize that in this county, Lord. And so bless, I pray, in Jesus' name today.
Amen. Amen. I pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. If we could have roll call, please.
Here. Good morning.
Here. Collins? Here.
Here.
Councilmember Susan Gibbs Thomas?
Here. Okay, moving right along. Do I have a motion to approve the agenda as is?
So moved. Second.
We have a motion with, I want to say council member. Commissioner Hetherington, seconded by Commissioner Hurd. Any comments? Any public comments? All in favor?
Aye.
Passed unanimously. Do we have a motion to approve the minutes?
Approved.
Second.
Motion has been made by Commissioner Jenkins. Thank you. We got to make sure I get my titles right. A second has been made by Commissioner Hetherington. Is there any comments? Public comments? All in favor?
Aye.
Passed unanimously. Moving on to comments from the public. We have one this morning. We have Dottie Lancy. Welcome.
Morning.
Morning, everybody. Good to see you again. I'm here this morning on behalf of HIPPY. It's the Hutchinson Island Preservation Initiative. Am I being heard? Anyway, the organization was founded about 5 years back for the purpose of preserving and protecting the natural beauty of Hutchinson Island, and so that I'm here to make you aware of a road project that is happening with FDOT that is going to take place, I guess, in 2025. And they are going to repave A1A between the two causeways that go over to the island. And I wanted to make you aware of our involvement in it. We have been working with FDOT as we did when we were originally organized. We were originally organized because of a paving project that required a lot of lighting over there that the residents were opposed to. And it was determined at that time that the lighting wasn't necessary. And we were able to keep the ambience of the island there in the as people wanted it. Right now, we've been working with FDOT, and they've been very, very cooperative with us. They've shared what their plans are, and in the preliminary stages now, they did have a roundabout proposed in front of the Hutchinson Island Resort, which was something that the residents did not really want, and working with FDOT and so forth, we were able to have that removed from the plans. We did not get the lighting design until relatively recently. I'm sorry, I only had 3 minutes, but we are working on that with them, and we wanted to let you know of our involvement and our opposition to excess lighting over there at this time. If you did not see the article in the Palm Beach Post, it was published on April the 18th. I would refer you to that, and it was also, I guess, in the Stewart News, but only on the on the online. It wasn't published. It was just online, but it gives a summary of our position. Thank you for the opportunity this morning. Good to see you again.
Thank you. No other comments? Moving on to our agenda items. Agenda item 8A, the final draft for the Transit Development Plan.
Yes, this is coming back to you for review and approval, the final draft of the Transit Development Plan, or TDP. Lucine Martins is the MPO project manager for this project, so I'll let her talk a little bit about it and introduce the consultant that will give you all a presentation.
Good morning, everyone. I just want to remind everyone that this is a living document that empowers the transit agency to continue to incorporate community needs and adapt if new priorities emerge or new opportunities emerge. And you'll hear Jeff Widener present, and he'll mention opportunities a lot during his presentation. We also have Jessica Mackey from Kittleson Associates.
Thank you, Lucine. Thanks, Ricky. So, good morning. Jeff Widener, Marlin Engineering. I just want to refresh you. The Transit Development Plan is part of a requirement of the Florida State Block Grant Operating Funds for transit agencies. Every 5 years, you're asked to do a refresh and develop a 10-year plan. And this is the major update to your 2019 Transit Development Plan. The scope of work, we're at plan adoption now. We've been through the first 6 tasks, and we came and presented to you that document. And now we have the draft plan in your agenda package, and we're here today to present to you some of the previous material, but the recommended plan and how to move forward in the next 5 years. Just briefly, the existing MARTI system, it's a linear system pretty much focused on US 1 with the loop in the Stewart area, and then an extension to Indiantown. And also you have the 20X, it's an express route that connects Stewart to West Palm Beach and the Veterans Administration Medical Center. 5 routes. Your major routes are Route 1, running on 35-minute headways Monday through Friday. That's replicated for Route 2. The Route 2 goes back and forth to Indiantown once every hour and a half, and then it loops around the village. Route 3, 40 minutes, 60 minutes, and then Route 20X varies during the time of the day. All routes are Monday through Friday. Public involvement at the scoping meeting. We were directed to have a minimum of 1 outreach event in each of the commission districts. We did not do traditional public meetings. We'll be here, come, we will speak to you. We went out to events. We were outdoors at Jensen Beach. We were between the Publix and the event. We met quite a few people that were tourists and snowbirds. We went to the Golden Gate Cassidy Center, met a lot of parents and children. We went to Indiantown. It was a cold and rainy day, but we got some quality time with the Marty operator and Commissioner Gibbons. I'm sorry, Gibbs Thomas, I'm sorry. Went to Hope Sound and the Banner Lake Community Center and the Morgade Library, and then again to the Peter and Julie Cummings Library in Palm City. Our survey, we obtained 732 surveys, which we felt was a good cross-section of the community. And, oops, Ricky, what did I do?
Click anywhere on the, nope.
Next. There we go. Thank you. So I want to bring up Jessica Mackey now. She's going to talk about the transit gap analysis and then go through the strategies that we looked at and then the recommended plan.
Hello, good morning. So many of you may have already seen this slide, but as a refresher, to identify the transit needs, we did a review of the prior plans that have been done before this, and then we also identified areas with a high concentration of trips and a high proportion of transit-dependent populations like zero-car households, households living under poverty, older adults, and disabled adults. And the areas in yellow signify the transit gaps that lie outside of a quarter mile of the existing Marty bus stops. Moving on to planning strategies, we developed 4 strategies to increase ridership. The first scenario is the low-cost scenario. These are improvements that could be made in the short term for little to no cost. We also have scenarios for expanding the service span, adding bus stops, and an aspirational network with microtransit. And each of these strategies had several alternatives within them that we costed and ranked to help us develop the recommended plan. So scenario 1, that's our low-cost scenario. The first thing, we'd like to do a comprehensive operational analysis that would have better bus schedules that are coordinated with each other. That'll increase the convenience for the riders when they're transferring to different buses. Targeted marketing campaign, we'd like to invest more money into marketing. We'd also like to leverage South Florida commuter services to help get the word out about the service and improve ridership. We propose Route 2 be extended to go from the Robert Morgade Library to the Walmart that's in Stewart. That's the green dotted line, which is an important destination for Indiantown residents. And splitting Route 3 to 2 circulators would better service several important destinations within Stewart, like the Cleveland Hospital, the Golden Gate CRA, the Health Department, and the high school, and also Walmart, which would allow for more transfer connections to Route 1, 4, 20X, and Route 2 should it get extended. The third route improvement would be extending Route 20X to the Tri-Rail Station in Mangonia Park. Route 4 currently has, and for Route 4, it currently has limited stops and crossing opportunities on US 1, so we think converting it to a flex route would more effectively service this service area. And added bonus is that flex routes are not required to provide ADA paratransit service, so there are potential cost savings there. For scenario 2, we looked into adding weekend service and later service. We explored different ways to add more service, including using transportation networking companies. In 2022, Marty's cost per trip for local fixed routes was $26.70. So if we wanted to implement something like microtransit with branded vehicles, we could be looking at roughly $15.50 per trip. We also looked into doing later service, so we proposed for Route 4, extending it to 8 p.m. since today the last trip leaves at 5 p.m. So we think prioritizing later service for Route 4 would be the best approach. Oh, Jeff.
And we just want to share with you some examples of microtransit that are happening in Southeast Florida. Transit agencies are going to service providers that provide multiple levels of service. In Hollywood, 15,000 riders per month with a microtransit vehicle that loops in and connects to a transit route. Pompano Beach, very successful at $2.28 per rider. And then another one in West Palm Beach. And then there's also another vendor that, you know, and I'm sure all of these vendors will brand the system to match your transit system, and people will understand the connectivity. These companies are very savvy at getting DOT and federal grants. They'll actually write the grant for you. And there's opportunities to have different levels of vehicles that are more in the context of going into neighborhoods and bringing people to hubs like the Walmart so that they can get on Route 1. And it's an opportunity when we talk about late shift or Saturday shift. This is something that they're doing in Broward County when the bus service stops at 11 o'clock at night. You still have hospital workers, et cetera. You could use this late shift or Saturday shift program using the vehicles on the left or a van on the right, depending on the service, to test the waters for weekend service.
So for our third scenario, adding bus stops, we know that's a major need. We identified 40 potential stop locations based on the transit gap analysis and feedback that we received during outreach. Destinations include the Kane Center, La Jolla, the Health Department, the Cleveland Clinic, the North and South one, the Publix at Canner Crossing, the Banner Lake Community Center, Ocean Boulevard, which would allow more transfer opportunities to the Stewart Tram, the House of Hope, and various along US 1. Obviously, the downside to having more stops is that the bus schedules would need to be reassessed, but we think increasing access to people and jobs is well worth the trade-off. So our fourth scenario, our aspirational network with a hub. We envision having an intermodal center located in Stewart in proximity to the proposed Brightline station with time transfers. We have 5 potential microtransit zones throughout the community and 2 trunk lines that we proposed. The Jensen Beach Trolley, the purple route, and Canner Highway, which is the route in orange. And the major benefit to having microtransit zones are enhanced safety, since there's currently a lack of safe crosswalks in many communities. It's a first mile, last mile solution, and it would cost less than today's cost per rider. We then developed a realistic business plan based on the best results and the highest need to develop the recommended plan. It includes all of the no-cost alternatives, adding 40 bus stops, and a few pilot programs from scenario 3 and 4. We included an expanded marketing campaign starting at $15,000 a year to increase awareness. Splitting Route 3 would result in the North Circulator having 35-minute headways and the South Circulator having 40-minute headways potentially. Route 4 Flex Route, the headways could vary between 60 to 80-minute headways depending on the demand for trip requests. We also propose having a late shift pilot program for this route. Extending Route 20X to the Mangonia Park Tri-Rail Station, we could be looking at headways that are 80 minutes. Today they vary between 35 and 90. We think microtransit in Palm City would be a great first zone to pilot for microtransit service, potentially from 6 a.m. to 8 p.m. With that, we could start begin understanding the demand for service and how it could increase overall ridership to the existing routes that would connect to it. We could also pilot the Saturday service for the service areas within routes 1, 2, 3, and 4 using transportation networking companies. And again, for the span, we could start with 6 a.m. to 8 p.m. So we did cost estimates for all these routes, And when we combine them, the potential ridership and the potential costs, we're estimating that it could cost $16.32 per rider, which is much lower than Marty's cost per rider in 2022 when you looked at all fixed route services. The implementation plan, we're anticipating over 294,000 trips annually, new trips by 2034. And the estimates we have, they're a conservative number because when we looked at initial estimates, we looked at each alternative separately. But when you combine them all, the system's going to work more holistically, and people are going to be making transfers between the different services. So we actually think ridership could actually be higher. So this is a conservative number that we developed.
So just a little bit on the timing of the implementation plan. Again, marketing, we heard quite a bit from the community. They knew buses went by their community. They really didn't know where it connected to and where they could end up. Route optimization. Looking at the route as a system, and there's some long waits when you want to transfer from one bus to another bus. Adding bus stops was probably the most significant improvement. Those 40 bus stops could add 77,000 riders per year. We also think in 2025, which begins September 1st, by the way, start scoping out microtransit. Changing a route following federal guidelines takes some time, but it's a good time to look at what's out there and what's available and how it could fit into your system. Beginning in FY26, look at the late shift pilot for Route 4, extending Route 2 to the Tri-Rail station in Palm Beach County. Again, we're recommending extending the headway, and this is just a reallocation of resources, and connecting to Tri-Rail could be something very significant to the community. Splitting Route 3, again, this is reallocation of resources. Extending Route 2 is the extension of the Indiantown route to the Walmart. Extending 20X the same year, that's getting down to Tri-Rail, and again, reallocation of resources. A big part of your upcoming 10 years is your buses are nearing their retirement age, and you're going to need to replace the whole fleet no matter what you do. We're recommending that you look at a fleet plan and decide on the type and size of vehicles that you want to be purchasing beginning in fiscal year 2027. 27, again, your Brightline hub will be up and running. We think leveraging that station to have some bus stops and creating a transportation center. Bus replacement begins. Piloting the Saturday shift, and then a complete operations analysis, a comprehensive operations analysis on how the whole system works and connects with each other. And come 2029, it's time to do this all over again and press a reset. This process really never stops. Technology is moving very fast. And as Lucine said, the TDP is a living document. It's not fiscally constrained as required in your long-range transportation plan. You have the opportunity to meet community needs and change the plan as new opportunities arise. There are other items that we looked at in the aspirational network that didn't make it into the recommended plan. There's other ways to reduce the cost of the recommended plan and also to add in some of these other alternatives, including TNC zones in Indiantown, Jensen Beach, Rio, and Port Salerno. Federal and state grants are available. Maybe not purchasing all 14 vehicles as the large vehicle type can bring down your capital costs. Fare increases. Your fare right now is $1.50. In our survey, overwhelmingly, people thought that was very reasonable. And, we recommended a fare increase in 2031. that may be something you want to consider to help offset the cost, particularly when you're rolling in new products. And then consistently looking at the efficiency of the system, which you already do on an annual basis, but there's more sophisticated tools to look at the efficiencies. And having buses meet at the same time and dealing with traffic congestion through the day is not a simple process. And moving forward, I think you all have a lot of opportunity here. Other policy and capital improvements, again, exploring fare increases, more locations for the sale of fares. You may be able to leverage MARTI vehicles for paratransit for other uses, but then also engaging in the comprehensive plan and development process, getting developments to pay for bus stops rather than having the transit agency pay, and then potentially a future maintenance facility. The next steps, we have a Board of County Commission meeting on May 14th. We're looking for adoption of this final draft. The TDP needs to be transmitted to DOT by September 21st. It needs to come from the Board of County Commissioners. And then the DOT has the opportunity for review and comment. And the TDP must be approved by December 31st to get next year's cycle of funding. And with that, we're prepared to respond to questions.
Okay, thank you. Commissioner Hurd?
Thanks. Yeah, these enhancements all look terrific, but what you skipped over was that they produce an annual operational deficit of $2.5 million.
That's correct. But
We can't. Where are we supposed to get $2.5 million?
so the initial, there are elements that we believe are just reallocations of existing funding. So, if you choose not to do the ones that add additional cost, again, this is a dynamic plan and these are the guardrails that you can be within. But we offered up a number of improvements, including the Route 3, the extension to Tri-Rail, the extension of Route 2 at no cost.
My feeling is that the buses are the wrong size, the routes are the wrong routes, and the schedules are too complicated. So we need to get rid of those big buses. We need to create new routes, and we need to really, really look into microtransit. I think I'm all about if we can get the companies to brand on microtransit, I'm all for it. But this draft plan is just too big, it's too broad, it's too cumbersome. It's not specific enough for me to approve at any time. I think that we have some real, I think we know what our problems are, and I think that we need to address them and create a new system, not just try to put a Band-Aid on our existing one.
Jeff, if I could comment, if that's okay. I just wanted to clarify that this is the TDP major update that's required to be developed every 5 years. The transit agency is required, and it's kind of a guide. It has a 10-year planning horizon. The transit agency is required to do an annual report or minor update every year, and that's when they will come to the Board of County Commissioners and give an annual update of what's happened in the past year. Did this make sense? Did some of these items make sense and we were able to move ahead with them? Or maybe they just weren't able to be funded or changed, and why? So this is kind of a guide for the next 5 years until it's developed again. So I just wanted to clarify that and kind of describe how it is a working document. The major update is required by the state every 5 years, but then the county is required to do an annual report or minor update every year and report on how they've accomplished some of these goals and objectives, or how they, or if they didn't accomplish them and why. What was the environment where they weren't able to accomplish it? if that helps, kind of helps clarify the process of this document.
Yeah, but what if they do, like, for example, extending 20X to Tri-Rail? That's a non-starter for me. So what if we prioritize that? You know?
It is a living document, and it's also a visionary document too. So it's asking the question, how will transit grow? What are the community's needs? What direction do we want to grow? So it has a lot of proposed projects and needs. So I just wanted to add that it's intended to be a vision plan.
Thanks.
Commissioner Heatherington?
Yeah, I tend to agree with Commissioner Hurd. I think it's fairly broad, and I think that we should be focusing on microtransit. And in addition, you have in here, and that's reallocation, right? So the scenario one, the reallocation, that is keeping the funding status quo, the exact same funding. So how do you add 40 routes and keep the funding the same? 40 stops, sorry.
Stops. Well, that could vary based on how many enhancements you'd like at those stops. So when we did the finance plan, we looked at more expensive stops that have shelters and more amenities, and then we also have some basic stops that could cost as low as $3,000 per stop.
And I thought we had discussed, and I don't know if it was here or at the board, having stops with only shelter coverings. Was that at the board, maybe? So have we analyzed the existing stops to see which ones have the most ridership? So for instance, you had suggested a stop at House of Hope in Golden Gate, but it seems like the stop on Indian, and I don't know if it's Ellendale, one of the side streets into Golden Gate, is not utilized, and that one causes a lot of traffic backup, so issues. Have you analyzed each of those stops to see which ones are most efficient, and would they be worth replacing rather than adding stops?
Stop by stop, individually looking at all 67 stops, no, we did not do that. We looked at route modifications and the potential for route ridership. We are recommending that these types of assessments be undertaken.
Okay, so then I guess if you haven't analyzed that yet, what are we approving then? I understand it's a vision, but I would want to know which stops are working and which stops before we start adding stops in a vision plan, because those stops would potentially become reality. There are some stops that I think could be eliminated in order to add some of the stops that you feel are necessary. When are we planning on doing that and analyzing that?
Sure. So just to kind of clarify, this document is actually a county document. Marty had actually come to the MPO and asked that we developed the transit development plan for them. That's why after this meeting, it's going to go to the Board of County Commissioners. It was good timing for us because we're required to have this information in our long-range transportation plan, which is a vision plan. It's a guidebook. And so that we've worked very closely with the Transit Division and with FDOT to develop this plan. So this information can go into our long-range transportation plan. The document itself does make recommendations like an operational analysis, looking at the bus stops like you're mentioning, and that's something that the county will be doing that's something that could be part of the annual report. This is a guide. This is the big picture guide with the 10-year planning horizon for the purposes of the MPO that'll be included in their 2050 long-range transportation plan. For the county, this is their guide to kind of move forward and to do those recommended analyses, to look at bus stops, to look at operations, to look at microtransit, to see what is feasible and what's most cost efficient. And that's the kind of information that will come up on the annual report on the minor updates from the Transit Division to the Board of County Commissioners.
I'd like to add what you mentioned is exactly one of the needs we have documented. We proposed, as part of the alternatives, a customer facilities and ADA compliance plan of the bus stops. So yes, it is a need.
That's all for now.
And let the record reflect that Commissioner Smith has arrived, and I'm turning the gavel over to him. And we appreciate, we appreciate your attendance. And so I think the next one to speak is Commissioner Collins.
I thought you did a great job, by the way.
Yes, that was,
So,
no, 8A, you're right.
I'm also in agreement with the other commissioners. I get the sense that this plan is to try to be open and include a lot to be refined later. But what I would like to see is, similarly, if 2027 is when you are looking at potentially re-upping your buses, to me, they're inefficient, they're a waste. I would like to see the microtransit sort of like phasing out buses going into 27 and increasingly phasing in microtransit. Investing too much into stops and more infrastructure around buses then makes less sense to me. So from a fiscal standpoint, you know, maybe it's on some time period to truly test it out with different regions. You mentioned Palm City. To me, Stewart makes more sense. You know, Palm City is, especially around downtown Stewart, Palm City's a land of 4 threes with a pool with 2 ranges in the driveway. I'd rather see sort of around, you know, the city. I feel like you've got more going on, especially with Brightline coming for an initial test, but that's just my off the cuff. But that's sort of a thing where we're increasingly investing as it makes sense in the microtransit and phasing out buses, you know, would be my take on it. It sounds like that's what you're trying to do, but you also are trying to do the bus thing too, so that it's not too exclusive to the microtransit, but sort of on the same wavelength of maybe let's do less, let's focus here around what's going to make sense and save money instead of trying to do too much would be my take.
Is that you? Yes, ma'am.
Thank you. And I would just like to echo all the sentiments that have already been expressed. I am in agreement. And, you know, we talk about the annual report, but approving this, and this is a vision plan, and at what point does that interruption come that these concerns drop into that vision plan and drop into, you know, in that and move forward with that. So.
Commissioner Mayfield?
Yes. Again, I am newer-ish here. I am cognizant of the fact that you guys have said repeatedly that this is the final thing that you want to get done. There's like a deadline, correct? Like that you need this
Correct, yeah,
approved?
the county requested the MPO to develop this plan in order for them to receive the transit block grant funds from the state that they receive on an annual basis. This is a requirement for that. Like I said, since we are a planning agency, they approached us and asked us to do the required TDP in order for them to get the grant money. And like I said, the timing was good because we're just kicking off the long-range plan, so we'll be able to include this transit planning component into our long-range plan as far as the MPO is concerned.
I mean,
It'll go over to the county to
Okay.
what they want to do.
I just wanted to get the deadline. I mean, I am under the, I mean, we've seen this a couple times. I remember we met individually. We had another presentation. I'm not saying I disagree with the other comments, but I don't feel like that was, I didn't see that as the be-all and end-all. So I'm not surprised that we haven't seen a total shift to microtransit yet, because you're also working with what the county already has. You already have a bunch of buses. So if this is the long-range plan, and I mean, again, I'm not the county, so I don't make the final decision, but it sounds like this is the big thing that I would approve, and then the county gets to it and kind of changes what they want with the idea that we all gave the input that, yes, micro transit was the end game. Maybe that could be move forward a little bit, but I'm for approving it at this point because it seems like there's a deadline. This is long-term, and the county can change it as they see fit because they're the ones that actually control it. So that's mine.
Anybody else? Huh?
Sounded like a motion.
I
didn't.
I will add to, I mean,
I was
it
giving
could have
my
been.
input.
I think what's important, and I think Kaya just sort of summed it up, and Chris also commented, and I apologize for missing the prior part of the conversation, but how I take all of this, especially an item like this is input to the county commission as to what the MPO thinks about a project like this. And so, Kai, your comments and Chris's comments, those of us that are commissioners listen to that and build that into our thought process. You know, it's not a one-stop, we approved it, that's it, it goes away, and it never happens again. So, at least from my seat, I appreciate the commentary so that we understand what everybody else is thinking. That's why you're all here, to help us get the best input we can get. And with that, if that was a motion,
I mean, I'll make a motion to approve the final draft TDP.
okay, we have a motion and a second. Anybody from the public wish to comment on this item? Seeing none, back to the board. Anybody, any final other comments? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All is opposed? Motion carries 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 to 1, with Commissioner Heatherington dissenting.
I'm also opposed.
Oh, I'm sorry. 5 to 2, with Commissioner Collins and Heatherington dissenting. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you.
Next item on the agenda is item 8B.
Yes, 8B is the final draft of the fiscal year 25 and fiscal year 26 Unified Planning Work Program, or UPWP. You all saw this in draft form last month. The only real big change is the de-obligation money that you all approved at the last meeting to de-obligate funding from fiscal year 24 to move it into fiscal year 25 to be able to spend those funds in fiscal year 25. That's really the only major change. It pretty much mirrors what you all saw last month. Most of the funding that's being moved to fiscal year 25 will fund our 2050 long-range transportation plan. Most of the consultant services in this document actually will fund the 2050 LRTP. There are some funds that are going towards the congestion management, US 1 congestion management studies, as well as there's some funding that's going towards a quarterly update to the development review map. In the past couple of years, we've done a biannual update, but a number of agencies and people have asked that it be done on a quarterly basis. So we will move forward and with your approval to do that on to update the development review map on a quarterly basis. So I'll be happy to answer any questions, and staff is recommending approval of this item.
Very good. Commissioners? Any questions?
Pending any public comment, I'll motion staff's recommendation.
Second.
We have a motion, we have a second. Anybody from the public wish to comment on this item? Seeing none, back to the board. Any further? Chris, did you have?
Nope.
Any further discussion? All in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries unanimously. Beth, item 8C.
Yeah, the next item is the draft fiscal year 25 through fiscal year 29 Transportation Improvement Program, or TIP. This is coming to you in draft form this month and will be coming back to you for final approval next month. And I'm going to turn the floor over to Ricardo Vasquez to present this item.
Good morning, board. So most of you who have been on this board for quite some time now, this is an annual thing that we approve and review. It's our Transportation Improvement Program. It is our short-range plan, covers a 5-year period of all the transportation projects in the county. There's a nice section in the document that discusses our performance measures that you guys adopt and approve. We include those in there. We do a chapter regarding that. We discuss our public involvement and how we get input from the public on the Transportation Improvement Program. And then at the end of the document is what we call the meat of the document. It's all the projects, the highway projects, transit projects, airport projects, turnpike projects in the appendices at the end that discusses the funding that's associated with those projects and the kind of the timeline they're on. So with that, as Beth mentioned, is a draft form of the document. We will be bringing the final document to you all in June for final approval. I did want to make a note that the list of project priorities that you all approve, or that you all approved last June, are included in this Transportation Improvement Program. And the next list of project priorities that you will all be approving in our next meeting in June will be in the next year's TIP, and that's kind of the cycle that we follow. So if you're reviewing this TIP and don't see the current list of project priorities that you guys had reviewed and adopted, is because this is the one in this TIP is from the last one you all approved. So I just didn't want to, you guys freak out if, you don't see certain projects in there. So with that, will be happy to answer any questions, and we are looking for approval today.
All perfectly good sense.
Good.
Move approval.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion from the board? Any questions? Seeing none, anybody from the public wish to comment on this item? This is item 8C. Not back to the board. Any final comments? All in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
All is opposed? Motion carries unanimously. Ricardo, thank you. Beth, item 8D.
Item 8D is the Southeast Avalon Drive Sidewalk Project update. This is a project that's funded with Transportation Alternative Program funds, or TAP funds, and there has been a bit of a change to this project. So we have the county's capital projects administrator, Keith Baker, here to talk about the scope change. Because these are federal funds that are funding this project, any kind of change such as this needs to go back through the MPO process to get the advisory committees and boards approval on it. So with that, I'll turn it over to Keith.
Hello, good morning. I'm Keith Baker. I'm the Capital Project Administrator.
Morning.
Good morning. This is a proposed 6-foot sidewalk project along Avalon Drive in Stewart. Helps increase connectivity and is essentially piping or undergrounding the drainage from an open swale. Being presented to you is the project does not change in essence of the improvements, just the side of the road that it's on. It was proposed on the east side. During the design process, there was a conflict identified with the existing water main. So this is just moving the proposed sidewalk to the west side of the road.
Stacy, did you have your letter?
Oh, that's my book. I'm sorry.
Commissioner Hurd?
Yeah, is there any existing sidewalk?
No, not.
Okay.
No.
Thanks. Move approval.
Second.
We have a motion, we have a second. Any discussion from the board? Any further discussion from the board? Anybody from the public wish to talk about this item? Effectively removing it from one side of the road to the other. All in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries unanimously. Keith, thank you. Item 8E, Beth?
Yes, 8E is the Martin County Public Transit Asset Management Plan and the transit asset targets. This item is required to be in both our short-range plan, our transportation improvement program, as well as our long-range transportation plan. Ash Beecher is here from the transit agency, and he will talk about the transit asset targets that have been, from what I understand, already approved by the Board of County Commissioners. And then Ricardo will talk about how those targets will be included in our short-range and long-range plans.
Ash, good morning.
Thank you. Good morning, everyone. So the FTA requires its direct recipients to have a transit asset management in place to document the processes used to ensure that federally funded assets are kept in a state of good repair. So the Marty TAM plan has a 4-year planning horizon, and it's updated annually. Right now, Marty has 19 vehicles that we use for revenue service, which includes 14 heavy-duty Gilligs and 5 light-duty cutaways. We also have 5 non-revenue service vehicles that we use for driver transfers and road supervisors. The light-duty cutaways are reserved for Marty Access, which is that door-to-door paratransit service. Those vehicles are not FTA funded. They were originally procured at the same time. They were originally scheduled to be replaced in fiscal year 25, but they remain in a state of good repair, so we don't suspect or expect that those vehicles will need to be replaced until fiscal year 26. There is a heavy-duty Gillig that we expect to meet its useful life benchmark in fiscal year 27, or somewhere between fiscal year 27 and fiscal year 28. We should have a better idea next year on where that vehicle stands, but we did document that in our transit development plan for fiscal year 27, just in case. That pretty much sums up the asset management replacement plan.
To tie that into what the MPO does, when we put together our transportation improvement program or our long-range transportation plan, it is a requirement to identify the transit asset management targets that the county has put forward, and we adopt those. And when we get funding, we kind of tie that in with the funding that we get from our TIP. Kind of helps the asset management plan stay, that the vehicles are up to date, or maintained and up to date. So it's kind of like a housekeeping thing that we do for the TIP and the LRTP. We're not required to update the targets, but since we are adopting our new 2050 LRTP, I just want to get ahead of the game and say that we've looked at them, we've approved them, so that we can include it once we move forward with the document. So with that, we'll be happy to answer any questions.
Board members, any questions?
I'll move staff's recommendation for approval.
Second.
A motion, we have a second. Any further discussion from the board? Anybody from the public wish to speak on this item? This is item 8E, Martin County Public Transit. Seeing none, back to the board. All in favor of the motion, say aye. Aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion carries unanimously.
Thank you.
Ash, thank you. Beth, item 8F.
Yeah, item F is the Continuity of Operations Plan, or COOP update. This is kind of another housekeeping item. And just to let you know, every 4 years, we do have a federal audit from Federal Highway and Federal Transit Administration. And so probably during the next 12 to 18 months, you'll be seeing a lot of approvals and housekeeping issues come forward. So that's staff's way of getting everything in line to get ready for that big federal audit that we have. This particular item, the COOP update, we're required to do every year. This is kind of a good time of year to do it because it's getting close to hurricane season, the beginning of hurricane season, and that's to ensure that the MPO will continue to operate even during a hurricane or during an emergency. This pretty much mirrors what we had last year. It does, we do have a few minor updates like the contact list, and we changed the formatting. So I'll be happy, the staff will be happy to answer any questions, and we are recommending approval of this item.
Very good. Any questions for Beth on this item?
Move approval.
We have a motion, we have a second. Any further discussion from the board? Anybody from the public on this item? This is item 8F, COOP, C-O-O-P. Seeing none, back to the board. All those in favor of the motion say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Motion carries unanimously. Item 8G, Beth, please.
Yes, this is 8G is the Cove Road PD&E presentation. We have the FDOT District Project Manager here, as well as the consultant to give an update on this project.
Good morning.
Good morning, Honorable Mayor and Commissioners. Thanks. My name is Vanita Saini. I'm the DOT Project Manager for Cove Road, and I also have with me David Dangle, who is the Consultant Project Manager from Aruda Group. Said that right? Sorry, Ardura Group. Our presentation today, we're going to be discussing the Cove Road PD&E study and focusing on the alternatives that we'll be presenting in the upcoming alternatives workshop meeting. The notices for the elected officials went out last week along with appointed officials and ETAP members, so they all received notices for the upcoming public workshop. The property owner letters also went out last week, so either they have received it or will be receiving it, prior to the workshop. So this project is the Cove Road Project Development Environmental Study, Financial Project ID 441700-1, Efficient Transportation Decision Making Number 14479. Okay, just to recap a little on the transportation development process, the planning phase, the Martin MPO requested FDOT to fund and lead the Cove Road widening project. So currently we're in the PD&E phase, and the PD&E phase consists of evaluating the project feasibility and potential impacts to the natural, physical, social, and cultural environment. It also includes complying with federal, state environmental laws and is required to secure federal regulatory approval. Part of the PD&E will be conducting a preliminary engineering. We'll be evaluating options to avoid, minimize, mitigate potential environmental impacts. We also coordinate with the federal, local, and state agencies. We engage with the public, and the final outcome is selecting a preferred alternative and going to LDCA. Throughout the process, we do promote and engage in public outreach. This is a project location map of Cove Road. It is between State Road 76, Kaner Highway, and State Road 5, US 1. And it's about 3.2 miles. Oops. So just to go over Cove Road, the existing characteristics, it's a 2-lane undivided roadway. It's a major arterial. It's in unincorporated Martin County. It has intermittent sidewalks, and the posted speed varies between 35-45 miles an hour. And these are the existing conditions of Cove Road. The project kickoff meeting was held about a year ago in March, and we had both a virtual and an in-person meeting. And we will be having an upcoming Publics Workshop meeting, which will also be a similar format, virtual and in-person. So for the virtual format, in order to get the link, you have to register basically on the project website, and then you'll get the link for the virtual format meeting. With that, I will hand it over to David Dangle, and he'll go over some of the alternatives that we'll be presenting.
Thanks, Vanita. Good morning. Just to go over the purpose and need for the project, the primary purpose of widening Cove Road from 2 to 4 lanes is to add capacity for all modes of travel and to improve the local transportation network. There are several needs for the project to support economic and social demands, improve system linkage, improve capacity, improve modal interrelationships, and also to improve emergency evacuation. So we currently have 5 different concepts that we're looking at for the project. We looked at others and we've discounted some of those. We'll also be looking at the no-build alternative through the entire study. And we've broken the project into 2 evaluation segments, and that's basically having to do with the existing right-of-way width along the road. So segment 1 is from Kaner Highway to Avalon, and then the last segment from Avalon to US 1 is very narrow right-of-way. So we looked at that separately. So Vanita kind of went over the existing conditions. So from Kaner to Avalon, it's basically a 2-lane road. There are some areas where it widens out with a turn lane, so that's shown here in the striped median. 12-foot travel lanes. Stormwater runoff is collected and treated in swales along the road. And we do have sidewalks in some areas, but it's not continuous. And the right-of-way varies from 97 to 203 feet, but it's generally wide enough to build a 4-lane road. The current road it's not quite centered, and so we're looking at complete reconstruction because we won't be able to save the existing pavement for the new road. So we've got 2 alternatives in the first segment. Alternative 1A is an urban 4-lane roadway. It's got a 22-foot raised median, 2 11-foot travel lanes in each direction, and 7-foot on-road buffered bike lanes in each direction. On the south side of the road, where the schools are, it's a 12-foot shared use path. And on the north side, it's got a 6-foot sidewalk, and it requires a minimum of 122.5 feet of right-of-way. These are the boards that we'll be showing at the public meeting. I know it's very hard to see this, but we're generally fit within the existing right-of-way. There are some minor areas where we may need some right-of-way in a few spots. So the second alternative is also a 4-lane divided roadway, same 22.5-foot median, 11-foot travel lanes, but we've taken the bike accommodations off the road. So the bikes and pedestrians are accommodated on a 12-foot shared use path on both sides of the road. And this only requires 119 feet of right-of-way, so it's a little bit narrower. So those are really the 2 options in this first segment. Again, it generally fits within the existing right-of-way along the corridor. So the second segment is the last quarter or so of the project from Avalon to US 1. The right-of-way is generally 90 feet in width. Again, it's a 2-lane road. There is a turn lane in a few locations. Sidewalk on the north side and some areas on the south side. On the north side of the road, you can see the wood fence line. There are residences that back up to the road through this entire stretch. On the south side of the road, we've got Montego Cove, which has their condominium buildings right up against the right-of-way and access to some of the units are right by the right-of-way. And then part of that segment, there are some very large transmission power poles. So those are kind of the constraints we're looking at in this segment. So the first alternative has the 19.5-foot median. We've been able to narrow that down some, 11-foot travel lanes in each direction. And on the south side, again, we've got the 12-foot shared use path, or the 10-foot shared use path. That's the minimum we can go down to. And then on the north side, the 7-foot buffer bike lane and the sidewalk, because we have to accommodate the bikes and then the pedestrians. And they both can't be accommodated on a sidewalk. Requires 108.5 feet of right-of-way minimum, so that's about 18.5 feet of right-of-way that would be needed from one side of the road or the other, or a combination of those two. Again, our alternative that we will present to the public, we'll have large boards that they can see it. The virtual will have boards that they can download and zoom into so they can see, in their backyards or, in much greater detail. But we're looking at an optimized alignment where we try to balance the residential impacts with avoiding the Montego Cove and the utility impacts. The second alternative is alternative 2C. It matches more closely with 1B, where we've got the shared use paths on both sides of the road and the bicycles not on the road. We've got a 15.5-foot median. We've reduced the inside travel lanes to 10 feet. It requires 101.5 feet, so it's still 11.5 feet of additional right-of-way would be needed for this option. Again, we look to balance the impacts by shifting from the north side to the south side through the corridor. And then the last one is alternative 2D. This is really our minimized alternative. The south side of the road, we are looking at the 10-foot shared use path, and we're trying to kind of go around the power poles. And then on the north side of the road, again, we've got the 6-foot buffer bike lane. We've reduced that, and the sidewalk right up against the back of the sidewalk, the curb. And all of this widening is going to be to the south side of the road. And it requires the least amount of right-of-way, about 8.5 feet of right-of-way for this option. So we will look at the impacts, and we looked at the impacts to the environmental aspects, species and habitat, wetlands, air quality, contamination, and others. And we've summarized that information into an evaluation matrix, and this is what we'll show to the public. We got the 2 options in segment 1, the 3 options in segment 2, plus the no-build alternative. So we've got the property impacts in the first group, the environmental impacts in the second group, and then the costs at the bottom. One item that we haven't filled in yet is the pond right-of-way cost. We're looking at both off-site ponds and also exfiltration, which can be done within the right-of-way. So we're still going through that, but we'll have that information available when we meet with the public. This is our PD&E study schedule. You can see in the middle, we're getting ready to go to the alternatives public information meeting. The virtual is on May 21st and the in-person's May 22nd. The next phase of development is design, and DOT has got that funded. It's going to be actually advertised in the next few months for DOT to hire a consultant to do that. And then right-of-way and construction are not currently funded. This is Vanita's contact information if you've got any other questions or comments, and that should be in your handout packet. And then the last thing I'll do is read the safety campaign item for the month. This month is National Youth Safety Traffic Month, and the Florida Department of Transportation encourages safe driving habits for teenagers who plan to get behind the wheel. According to the Florida Department of Highway Safety and Motor Vehicles, nearly 40,000 crashes were linked to teen drivers in Florida alone in 2020. FDOT is committed to improving safety for all drivers, including the state's youngest motorists, with the ultimate goal being Vision Zero, a traffic safety initiative with the goal of 0 fatalities or serious injuries. With that, I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Commissioner Mayfield.
Yes, I just have a quick question. On the second segment, the existing condition from Avalon to US 1, it has those big utility poles that are concrete, but then in the pictures, they look pretty and small. Are they going to change, or that seems like a hard thing to change?
No, they're kind of halfway through the segment, so I'm not sure if the picture is the actual. And on the north side of the road, there's small ones. On the south side, about halfway through, they're bigger.
Okay. It was just in the existing one, maybe I'm looking at the thing wrong. And then the alternatives, it shows the more decorative.
Oh, those are the street lights. Those
Right.
are the street lights. No, yeah, those are the street lights. So this doesn't really show the poles. And
Okay, but they're still going to be there.
They're still going to
Okay.
be there. Yeah, sorry about that. Yeah, I see that.
Will it be both, or are you going to use the existing poles to hang the
it'll be
decorative lighting
separate.
from?
They'll be separate.
So that should be reflected in that.
Yes. Yeah. You can see on the right, the kind of the inset that we kind of attempted to show that big concrete pole there.
Yes. Yeah, I never realized those were lights and not the electricity,
Yes,
but somehow I thought maybe it had some great system to.
Oh, no.
Is that it?
Yeah, that was it.
Commissioner Hurd?
Yeah, I like 1B and 2C, and I particularly like them because they require a little less right-of-way. And also, I really like them because I don't think that bicycles on this are appropriate at all. So I think that I like the idea of the big multimodal on both sides to accommodate both walkers and riders. I think that's real smart. Also, I noticed that in all of them, there are no center turn lanes, and there are lots and lots of roads. There are lots of turns that need to be made to the north and to the south, all along the corridor. So how are you going to accommodate turns?
We will accommodate the turns. This is just a representative of the road. The median will allow for left turns to be developed. So that's one of the things that we'll be presenting. Those big display boards will show all the areas where there are turn lanes. And
So it won't look like this. It won't have a grassed median. It will have
not
turn-
continuously. It will have this, except where there's turn lanes, and there will be a turn lane there.
Okay. And also, this is frivolous perhaps, but are there plans for landscaping?
That came up in the committee meeting last Monday. The right-of-way estimate, the cost estimates for the project include a contingency for landscaping. We don't typically get into those details during the study. That's more of a design level thing, but yes, landscaping could be accommodated here.
And there's enough right-of-way that can be purchased in front of Montego Cove to accommodate 101 feet of right-of-way?
To see.
Yeah.
This one, well, there will be some right-of-way acquired from them. The issue is trying not to disallow them to get access to the building because they park and then there's a sidewalk that comes up to the front door, the very closest one to the right-of-way, and so it's trying not to hit that. So we will get into some right-of-way, but not to the point where it won't allow somebody to still have access to their condo.
And they'll still have their wall.
There will be a wall. I think that's one of the details we just need to look at if it needs to be rebuilt.
Okay. Thanks.
Is that it, Commissioner? Or is that it?
That's it.
I agree with Commissioner Hurd having the multimodal paths rather than my opinion. Absolutely.
Anybody else? I concur with the other two. I think 1B and 2C make the most sense. I think bike lanes are increasingly becoming more dangerous and more problematic, and I think separating them as a whole is safer for our public as a whole. Three other things that I'd like to touch on. I know we're not at the design stage, but I think we ought to be thinking about it at this point. Commissioner Hurd raised a part of the question relative to the turn lanes and to landscaping. I very much would like to see the corridor look similar to what we did on Willoughby years ago. I think when we're doing major corridors like this, it's an opportunity to significantly enhance what otherwise is just a barren strip of asphalt or grass. When we did Willoughby, that was a really big shift in terms of our landscaping design criteria, and I hope that we would head more towards that direction than less than. I'd also not rather come back 3 years later like we're doing on Canna right now and ripping it all up and tying up traffic and doing all that. So if we're going to do it, let's do it all at one time. Please don't come back and tell us at some point that, oh, that's really a 2-year down the road piece of the project and we're not doing that for another 2 or 3 years, which means we come back and rip it up and tick off everybody after we've already done the project to begin with. I think it's an opportunity to significantly take advantage, if we're going to be rebuilding the whole cross-section, any crosswalks that we do from north to south, to use the most enhanced form of crosswalk technology that exists. We have been messing around in the county with different designs. Golden Gate is a perfect example of where we have tried different things. I think the city of Stewart, I guess you guys may have by design or by policy, I don't know, have landed on those, the ones that are now on Baker in Avonlea. They're the 4 very intense LED yellow lights that if you miss them, there's really something wrong. The little ones that we have on our street signs, they're okay, but they're not adequate. I think what the city is doing is really the direction to be looking at. There's also some technology in Europe that they're using where they are uplighting the actual white striping from the asphalt up, which illuminates the entire crosswalk. It might be a really cool corridor to do some experimental work with that to see if that's something we want to do for all of our crosswalks. I've asked our staff to look at one of ours on Indian River Drive, which we have, I think, significant darkness and you can't see pedestrians. And it's good that we have this center meeting that will create a safe space in the middle, but just crosswalks, I think, are something we really got to focus on and do a better job in design. So I know it's early, premature a little bit, but at least if you're thinking about it ahead of time, maybe we can start thinking about it. Next, even given the prior discussion on our transit system, I think if we're going to continue to have buses in some shape, form, or fashion, we should have pullouts, not these stops in the travel lane that just seem ridiculously stupid that we do that. Along sort of, I think with the bike lane conversation, the pullouts have to be designed into it so that a bus can literally get off the right of way, pull into a pullout, plan on having a shelter of some sort with that pullout. But that's got to be incorporated right from the beginning, I think, my opinion. And again, my last one was the landscape of the medians and the areas surrounding it. Anybody else have anything else they want to add? Anybody from the public on this one? Do we need to do anything on this? Do we need to?
This is an information item.
Just information? And when will we hear back from you all next? What's the next step?
After this public meeting, we'll finalize the recommended alternative, and then we'll prepare for a public hearing later this year, towards the end of the year.
Okay, Commissioners,
I
I'm sorry.
I have a quick question if I can ask them. Since I'm somewhat new in learning this stuff, when you're designing a road and thinking about it, do you automatically put in a bike lane? And by the way, I agree with the shared use path as opposed to the bike lane, but do you automatically put one in if there's room just in case? Or is there, like, do you look at, is there a lot of bike use or is there a lot of pedestrian? Like, how do you decide if there's room, do you just put it in for the future or do you?
We have to accommodate bicyclists either on the road or with a shared use.
Okay.
On state road, on state projects.
Okay.
There's not a set rule of which one to use. A lot of times, heavy input from bike groups.
Mm-hmm.
High-speed biking, and so they really push.
Are you saying this one is?
No.
Oh, okay, just in general.
People
Okay.
that have brought it up.
Okay. I don't go on this road very often at all right there, so.
I wouldn't say it's an overwhelming demand for it, but I think the state, on state roads, is really moving away from the on-road bike lanes.
Okay.
Especially when the roads get over 30, 35 miles an hour, posted speed limit. Just, they found them to be a safe.
That makes sense. And then you offer the shared use or sidewalks if there's room, same kind of thing? Like there's just encouragement to always put those if?
Yes.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
Susan.
Once again, that in-person meeting is when and where?
May 22nd, and it's at the Indian River State College.
Okay.
They're right by the project.
Okay, thank you.
And I guess I'm asking our board at this point, do you all feel comfortable at this point? Three of us gave our opinions on the typical sections. Do you want us to be making like a motion saying our preferred option at this point is 1B and 2C? Would that be helpful to you all?
Why don't we do it anyway?
Well,
Yeah.
we'll take your comments into consideration, but we do have to wait until after the alts workshop to incorporate everyone's comments, including the public that show up.
What time is that workshop?
What time's the workshop?
It
Do you know yet?
starts at 5:30 with an open house, and we'll do a presentation about 6, and then just stay.
So it's 5:30 at Indian River State College, huh?
May 22nd.
May 22nd, correct?
So,
Great.
so after that, when do we have the opportunity to give our recommended opinion?
I mean, it's after the
Yeah.
public meeting, I mean, it would be great to get something as part of the public comment period. We usually go 10 days after the meeting to incorporate, and then we respond to all the comments, so.
Okay, so Beth, let me ask you this. When's our next meeting? June?
In June, I think it's June 7th.
So can we have a placeholder agenda item for this? Because that'll follow your May 22nd meeting. And that way we can get input from what you all heard. But we can also, again, I think, take a position at that point in time that our preferred option, unless it changes, would be the 1B and 2C. Everybody okay with that?
With consideration of bus.
Yeah. Got it.
I'm glad you thought of that.
Okay. Thank you very much. Good discussion. Beth, item 8H?
H is the Transportation Disadvantage, or TD Planning Grant application that's comes before you every year. It's state funds to support the staff administration of the local coordinating board for the transportation disadvantaged. This grant is based on formula and is in the amount of $25,000. Staff is recommending approval for it, and I'll be happy to answer any questions.
Move approval.
We have a motion, we have a second. Any other discussion from the board? Anybody from the public wish to chime in on item 8H? Seeing none, back to the board. All in favor of the motion, say aye. Aye. All is opposed? Motion carries unanimously. Last item, if you will, on our agenda is State Road 710 update.
Yes, Ron Kariva is here, the SIS coordinator for District 4 is here to give the 710 update.
Ron, good morning. Welcome back.
Thank you. Good morning.
Sure you have a
Welcome back.
complete funding and acquisition and all the stuff that we ever wanted to hear update.
Favors are.
Not quite, but we've got some information, but a lot of the information you're going to hear is repeat from last month. To be honest, it's kind of a slow time for the actual project. What's kind of really happening is the design teams are kicking off and engineers are sharpening their pencils and really going at it. But to get back on subject, County Road 714 relocation project, also in regards to the 710 widening project from Southeast 126 to Van Buren. So both of those projects are in the design phase. They kicked off very recently. One kicked off a little sooner than the other two, but they're ongoing. The right-of-way phase is funded for the department. We're keeping the projects as tight as we can on schedule, focusing on getting to the right-of-way phase as quickly as possible. For all of the projects, construction is not funded at this time. We continue to seek funding for that. The project remains our number one SIS priority for the widening project in regards to widening 710, so we'll continue to seek funding there through the SIS program. The survey is ongoing for design purposes. It doesn't stop the design team from working and moving forward, but it is ongoing. So that survey is actually going to cover the whole segment as well as State Road, or excuse me, as well as the portion under County Road 714. So once that survey comes in, all of the projects will have survey to work on, and they'll all continue to move forward to the right of way. Yeah, as far as that, I don't think I have other updates specifically. Oh, Tommy Clement Street, sorry, I did check into that with our operations center. That's on schedule and still moving forward. And we've talked briefly before about how the right turn lane will come in right immediately after that construction's finished, and that's still the plan. Nothing's changed there.
So I have to ask the question, right? You can ask it for me.
Sure.
I was wondering when it's going to be done?
Well, when it's going to be done, and do we have the second contractor identified, and do we know that the day that the first one finishes, that the second one goes into production?
No, I don't have that. I can get you at least the information on probably who the contractor may be, because that contractor should already be under contract specifically to us, because I think Chris Carey had mentioned this before. It's someone that we can immediately utilize, and the design plans will be ready, so it won't be something that they'll have to wait any time on. So I can verify the dates that they anticipate it as of now, but I don't have the information. I'm sorry.
I just think there needs to be some acknowledgement of the fact that there is a second contract, that it'll be let the day it can be let, and hopefully that's within weeks of the continuation or the completion of the first contract, so that we don't say, oh, we lost 3 months in between somehow because we didn't ask the MPO for some kind of a something.
Noted.
Susan, anything else on that?
You got it. Sounds good.
Anything else you have for us?
No, just
So we're still looking for construction dollars. We don't have that yet. Is there any right-of-way? Are the right-of-way dollars, we got that this year, correct?
right-of-way is funded tentatively for all of the projects, both the widening segments as well as the relocation of the intersection.
And so construction and I think I probably say this every time as well, I think we should send, every time we have this conversation, a letter to our delegation from the MPO board, and maybe it should be on a consent item for the county commission to draft a letter to our delegation highlighting the fact that construction is not yet funded, that acquisition is, but we need their help, assistance, guidance, whatever, to go after additional funding from the legislative side. And I have talked to our secretary about that, and that is not offensive to him. FDOT, I guess, is funding lots of things that way that may be funded outside of their normal due course, so. You all okay with that?
Yes.
Yeah, okay. Chris? Okay, Beth, can you put that together for the chair?
Yes.
Send and then get a consent item, if that's how you want to do it, for the county commission to equally send a second letter confirming that. Ron, thank you. Unless there's anything else, I appreciate your trip up here.
Thank you for your time.
Drag you all the way up here, but it's important.
It's okay. I enjoy these meetings. Thank you.
You probably enjoy the meeting, but not the drive.
It's not too bad. I actually live in Palm Beach County, so it's not that bad.
You're not coming out of Fort Lauderdale then.
Yeah, so I got to do both treks.
Have a good day. Thank you. Beth, any committee comments? Committee member comments? Next meeting is June 17th, 2024. Anything else from our members? Anything else final? Seeing none, we're adjourned.
Awesome.